My name is Adam Cox. I'm the founder and managing director of the Relations Group, a cluster of broadcast PR specialists which include radio relations, TV relations, digital relations, and a video production company called Televisualize. And one of the key things that I get asked on a very frequent basis are what are the actual benefits of broadcast PR and radio PR? And what I tend to find is that sometimes within marketing departments, they have to justify any spend in terms of demonstrating an ROI, a return on investment. And my key question is always, what does return on investment mean to you? Because I've worked with hundreds of brands, and more often than not, the answer to the question, what does ROI mean to you, is different. It's different depending on brands, different depending on objectives and KPIs. Sometimes it can mean traffic to a website, sometimes it can mean sales, sometimes it can mean items of coverage, sometimes it can mean audience reach. So ROI is not a standard, it is subjective. So the key things is that I like to educate clients as best as possible in terms of what the actual benefits are of radio and broadcast PR. And I would say first and foremost, the benefit is awareness. And awareness, when you think about the radio industry, for example, the radio industry has access to 90% of the population that listen to radio every single week, not for just 5 or 10 minutes, but for an average of more than 21 hours. So that's a lot of people listening for a very long period of time. Radio is still the most popular medium before 7 p.m. So on that basis, having content delivered through a radio station presenter or a newsroom can access a very big audience in a very trusted way. But it's accessing that audience. So getting your message to your audience is going to raise awareness of your brand, of your key message, and of what you do. So number one benefit is awareness. Number two is brand positioning. Now, positioning, the actual term, was a phrase created by Jack Trout and Al Reese back in the 80s, and it has since become, in common parlance within marketing teams, everyone talks about positioning. And what positioning really is the differentiation, what separates and makes a brand different from its competitors within the same marketplace. Now, quite often brand positioning is communicated by what we see that brands do. So for example, if you have a brand being interviewed on the radio about being, let's say, a gluten-free bread, for example, then that's going to position them to the audience listening to that interview as a brand that has gluten-free bread. It comes from what they actually see that brand doing. So brand positioning really is what the brand stands for in the mind of the consumer. And whenever you see a brand on TV or on radio in an editorial way, quite often it's perceived to be, from the audience at least, that brand has been chosen because they are a leading brand in that particular niche. And therefore, any radio or TV coverage that comes as a result of a specific story or theme or topic is going to reinforce that brand positioning. The third benefit of radio and broadcast PR, I would say, is credibility. Now, credibility is very important, and what it comes down to is trust. Now, in advertising, anyone subject to ASA guidelines can communicate anything. Simply, if they just pay for that space and time, they get that full control. Whereas the media will only run a story if it complies with Ofcom guidelines on editorial justification and if it's relevant to their target audience. Now, because radio and TV are regulated by Ofcom and they have very strict rules, most people don't know that it just takes one complaint to Ofcom to launch an Ofcom investigation into a particular radio station or TV channel. And because of that, there is a culture of compliance and being very, very in line with guidelines and kind of editorial rules. And because of that, levels of trust on radio and TV are the highest in any media. And if you were to ask, let's say, a friend or family member, do you trust what you read in newspapers, particularly the tabloids, you'll find that a lot of people don't. Do you trust what you see on a Facebook post? We hear about fake news, but fake news is going to be least likely in radio and TV because of the high levels of regulation and compliance that exist within radio. Now, because the media is so trusted, therefore, if a brand is regularly seen on TV or heard on radio in an editorial way, that's actually going to give them credibility on the fact that they're communicating a message in an editorial format, in a trusted medium, which has to comply with the rules, and also because the audience are going to perceive that the radio station or TV channel themselves have sourced that spokesperson because they're reputable and credible within their particular niche. So it has very high levels of trust, which gives massive levels of credibility. And credibility, can't be bought simply by doing more advertising. So that's a key thing. The fourth benefit is really what it comes down to is dispelling myths and misconceptions. And in certain industries, in certain sectors, in certain brands, there may be that the audience simply has ideas that aren't true, but while they're carrying these beliefs, their behavior is going to act accordingly. And one of the key things that you can do is you can do a survey polling people on misconceptions, and by highlighting that if people have misconceptions relating to health, finance, food, technology, whatever it might be, and that's going to influence their behavior, then this can actually cause a problem. If people believe that it's not worth investing in a pension, because they're not going to earn enough in retirement, then they won't invest in a pension. So the misconception can actually be a news hook for a story. And doing radio interviews, doing features, doing content for television can really influence that, so you get to inform people of the facts. So it's an excellent way to dispel myths and misconceptions. And equally, another benefit is education, because sometimes it's not that people have got the wrong information, it's just that they have ignorance. They don't have any information, they don't have any opinions on a particular topic because they don't know enough about it. And this is very useful for emerging sectors and areas, things that are new. People haven't formed an opinion yet as to whether they're good or bad, useful or not useful. So therefore, having a brand or an expert spokesperson within that brand delivering the message can actually enable them to educate a particular target audience at a time where there is just high levels of ignorance in that particular area. And there are other benefits as well. The fact that we are influencing the presenters themselves, or the newsrooms, broadcast journalists, heads of news, program controllers, means that we're avoiding the sponsorship and promotions departments, the actual salespeople in commercial radio. Therefore, it can be much more cost effective to actually communicate in that way. Sometimes you've got additional benefits like thought leadership or industry expertise. If you have a spokesperson from your company that is regularly in the broadcast media, always being the topic, the expert on a particular topic or theme, then the audience is going to perceive them to be an absolute authoritative voice on that particular topic, which again amplifies and kind of reinforces the credibility between the audience and the brand that they're forming a relationship with. And also, one of the final benefits I would add is that you can amplify anything that takes place on radio and TV to further enhance credibility by taking, let's say, audio clips of an interview, for example, or a clip of a TV interview, putting it on YouTube, sharing on social media. So it's not just that you're getting the value of the original coverage and that huge audience in an incredibly cost-effective way, but actually that you can amplify that, and you can amplify that in a way that means that you get long-term credibility, long-term brand positioning, long-term thought leadership above and beyond the immediate instant coverage that you got at the original point. So there are multiple benefits. What we do at Radio Relations and the Relations Group is we try and elicit the objectives from our clients and make recommendations as to the right timing of a campaign, the right hook or concepts, and the right routes to coverage, so that the campaign is going to do what you actually want it to do, rather than doing a radio day just for doing a radio day. Well, a radio day can be good for credibility and thought leadership and awareness, but if you've got a commercial message about a key feature of a brand, there might be other routes to coverage that are much more effective to achieve that goal. So if you are interested in free consultancy or feedback on a potential campaign, then contact us by going to either our main websites, which is radiorelations.co.uk or therelationsgroup.co.uk, and either myself or one of the team will happily give you completely free of charge consultancy on how best to tap into the broadcast media to achieve your objectives and to make sure that we get the right message to the right audience at the right time.